Hi everyone, Vega here. And in today's video we're going to be returning to my favourite planet, Neptune, the beautiful blue world that acts as a sentinel for our solar system. Today, however, we will focus not only on the blue planet itself, but also its second and third largest moons, Proteus and Nereid. In a previous video we looked at the possibilities where Triton came from and how it might be colonised, but perhaps Neptune has other places overlooked for colonisation. So, let's get to it. In the 1998 horror classic Event Horizon, we saw a beautiful but yet chilling image of the spacecraft Event Horizon in orbit around Neptune. It really captured my imagination. For those of you who have seen that film, the depiction of Neptune could not be more distant and isolated. Whether it's Neptune or its blue-green sister planet, Uranus, both have been almost criminally overlooked for the solar system exploration. The only exception, of course, is the Voyager 2 probe that arrived at the blue world in 1989. We probably all know about the strong winds on Neptune, and indeed those of you that want more in-depth video on the colonisation of the planet itself would do well to check out this one from Isaac Arthur that I'm linking in the card above. Many of you may already be aware and indeed subscribe to that particular channel, but today we're going to put forward another possibility. That Neptune's second and third largest moons of Proteus and Nereid are far more interesting than they might at first seem. Proteus itself is not that much smaller than Saturn's moon Enceladus, and we all know of the fame that Enceladus has because of its water geysers, and it's often thought of as one of the solar system's greatest chances of finding life. So why not other tiny moons like Proteus? Why has it been ignored? Is it because of its large distance and perhaps its irregular shape? Proteus has a surface area the same as the country of Spain. It's huge. The even stranger Nereid has a strange but elliptical orbit around Neptune, and Proteus is tidally locked and orbits very close. In fact, just 4 times the radius of Neptune away from it. Now, here's the plan. The thing about these small moons that maybe has been overlooked is the smaller the moon becomes, the more manageable maybe it becomes to manipulate and move around. We know that one of the largest problems with places like Proteus and Nereid are that they have very little, if any, gravity at all. We don't yet fully understand the damage that zero gravity effect could have on the fragile human frame, but the thing is, the smaller they are, the more manageable they are. Maybe we could set up somehow, maybe once we've cracked nuclear fusion, or maybe even an efficient version of fission. Slowly, over maybe decades, or probably more likely centuries, we could speed up the rotation of these small worlds. We know that although gravity is caused by mass, it can also be caused by centrifugal force, and of course, the smaller the body, the easier it is to speed up. Now, I'm not claiming to be an astrophysicist, and I don't know exactly how much power will be required to spin Proteus. Bear in mind that these are very rough calculations, but I read that if we could convert around 2 trillion kilograms to energy, it would be enough to speed up the planet Venus to Earth-like rotations. Now, given that Proteus is a fraction of that, if we divide the mass of Proteus by the mass of Venus and then multiply, we get to a figure of roughly 18 million kilograms. That's slightly lower than the Statue of Liberty. Of course, we then have to convert that into energy, which is easier said than done. But we know, for example, antimatter reactions can produce between 60 to 100% efficiency in converting mass to energy. It's not a huge ask, is it? Once we sped up the moon with centrifugal force on the surface, the gravity would be 1g. The moon Nereid would require even less. If we could do that, we could build bases on these small worlds and use them as places, maybe to explore further Triton, which would be much more difficult to speed up, and indeed the blue planet itself. During the week that this video has been released, Neptune is approaching and by now will actually have passed opposition. What this means is the Earth passed directly between the Sun and Neptune, and this means that Neptune has a bigger and brighter luminosity in the sky than at any other time during the year, although you would still need a pair of binoculars or small telescope to see it. So everybody's focus just on this brief period of time is on Neptune, and no better time than now to strike while the iron is hot and put forward this possibility of further colonisation of the Neptunian system. There are other advantages of small worlds like Proteus or Nereid. Given the distance of Neptune from the Sun, is that Neptune could become a waymarker on the way to the Kuiper Belt, the Oort cloud, or even the local stars in the long-term future. It seems to me quite clear that Mars will be the first planet to be colonised after the Earth, if we don't include the Moon. And then once we finish with the Jovian moons of Io, Europa, Callisto and Ganymede, and also the beautiful orange world of Titan, at some point Neptune is going to have to take centre stage in our solar system exploration. It may be way down the list, but isn't it fascinating nonetheless? The 14th century was the exploration of the world of planet Earth, and the 21st and indeed 22nd centuries will no doubt be when we explore and colonise the solar system. The case could also be argued that ice giants like Neptune and Uranus do not have the vast radiation belts that Jupiter has. This is a massive advantage for their satellites. In Titania, the beauty of the Uranian system, we looked at the advantages of the moon of Titania, a highly overmarked moon, and we're following up on that now. Proteus' close proximity to the blue world, Neptune, means skimming hydrogen, deuterium and tritium from the atmosphere for use in nuclear fusion would not be a gigantic task. Another advantage is Neptune's magnetosphere would be an inbuilt protection from cosmic rays around its inner satellites. Although the moons themselves have no magnetosphere, they are within Neptune's protected ring. Indeed, this protective ring only begins to fade away at 34 times the radius of the planet. Proteus' orbit is just 4 times the radius, so it lies well within this. It receives far less radiation than any of the Jovian moons. Nereid, however, is much further out, and indeed its furthest distance is some 389 times the radius of Neptune. It's possibly this reason that it was actually discovered so much earlier than the other Neptunian satellites. But again, in a strange twist of fate, it may end up pushing it down the list of Neptunian colonization targets. Neptune's magnetosphere is not greatly understood, and is an interesting thing in that it bizarrely is also strongly tilted, just like its sister world Uranus, on its axis at 47 degrees. We thought that Uranus's tilted magnetosphere was the result of its sideways-on rotation, but once we compare the magnetic fields of the two ice giants, scientists now think that the extreme orientation may be the characteristics of liquid flows within the planet's interiors, conducted by convected fluid motions of electrically conductive liquids. A combination of ammonia, methane and water results in a dynamo-like action. If it is decided that humans do indeed require strong gravity, that would potentially establish Proteus as #1 target in the Neptunian system for long-term colonization. The extreme cold, however, does remain a problem, and current materials are just not practical for those ranges of coldness. So as for now, humanity would have to live in domes, but domes with oxygen-nitrogen atmospheres, now combined with centrifugal and realistic gravity from the spin of the speeded-up worlds. Proteus would certainly make an interesting place to live. Let me know your thoughts in the column below. The channel hasn't grown enough lately, and a new feature I'm hoping to adjust in the coming weeks is the possibility of more interaction with channel regulars. How that's done, I really am not sure yet, so if you do have any ideas, don't hesitate to let me know. The blue world of Neptune has been completely ignored and undervalued for its entire existence since its discovery in 1846. Recently, not 1, but 2 missions to Venus were chosen over a potential Neptune orbiter. While we would all like to know more about Venus, isn't it time we pointed our gaze again at this beautiful, mysterious blue world, a world that in many ways resembles our own? Neptune is the sentinel of our solar system. Let's hope that it will be revisited again within our lifetimes. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks to those of you who are regular subscribers. Take good care of each other, your friends and your families. Look after yourselves well, and I'll see you on the next one.